everybody! Welcome back to House Parties.
It's been a while.
It's been a minute since we have seen a lot of you guys. We're so happy to have you guys back here with us. We promise it is going to be a fun time.
Well, promise is a strong word.
We are going to try to make the time enjoyable.
No promises.
No promises. No money back guarantees.
That's right. Yeah.
Any announcements today?
I can't think of any.
I can't think of any either.
We're probably going to announce our mission trip location sometime soon.
Oh,
Yeah.
those of you guys who went on our mission trip last year to South Dakota,
Yeah,
they said it was incredible.
it was. Start begging your parents for money.
Mhm. We are going to a new location this year, but with the same company.
Yep.
And they are incredible. The name is
YouthWorks.
YouthWorks.
Yep.
And we're super excited to be working with them again. So expect a similar level of awesomeness.
Yeah, somewhere we've never been before.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hint.
Yeah. And I've never been before. It's my first mission.
Somewhere you've never been before.
Somewhere I've
On a mission
definitely
trip.
never been before. So I'm excited about that.
Evans. No, it's not Evans.
Evans, Colorado.
No, I can't think of any announcements.
All right, then it's time for slices.
Oh. Okay, in the 30s, a movie was in production. They were filming it and getting ready for it to be released. And the movie was called It Ain't No Sin. And back then, there weren't a whole lot of ways to get the word out about a movie. And so people got together and said, how should we spread the word about this movie? And naturally, they landed on the idea of parrots. So they trained 50 parrots to say the phrase, it ain't no sin. And they spent weeks doing this, and then they released them out into the wild to advertise this movie. But then they realized that they had a better title for the movie, and they changed the title of the movie after they released 50 parrots into the wild. And in this neighborhood or town or city, there's just all these parrots saying, ain't no sin! Ain't no sin!
Do they still?
I think they have died since the 30s. Yes, those parrots are probably long gone.
Well, I didn't know if it passed it on to the generation.
Oh, no.
That would have been incredible.
Don't think that happened.
Parrots worldwide
Worldwide.
say ain't no
Yeah.
sin, but no.
Yeah.
That's funny. Mine is just recently in Mexico, a university broke a Guinness World Record for the longest line of bread ever assembled. They arranged 14,360 loaves measuring 2.8 miles long of bread.
Wow.
It's a lot of carbs.
That's a lot of bread.
For you gluten-free people. Probably.
What? Does it not count for them?
Does it not count?
Is it not the longest line
Is
of
it
bread?
is it scary
I
for
don't
them?
like that line.
Or do gluten-free people go,
free.
oh my gosh, 2.8 miles?
This world record does not apply to me. Ugh.
The tummy ache at least. Students and faculty members at Universidad I'm not gonna
Good
butcher.
try.
Yeah, I just out of respect, I'm not gonna butcher those words.
Probably for the
It's
best.
in Baja California. Arranged the loaves of rye bread, a traditional bread made in celebration, I believe so. January 6th, in the Three Kings Day holiday, into a line measuring almost 3 miles.
Wow, that's a lot of bread.
That is a lot of bread. I think that's it for slices. So now we're going to be talking about a new series. It's a new year. We finished our last series quite a while ago.
Yeah.
And so now we're on the new series, and it's going to be called Influencer. And so...
Good trumpet.
Yeah. Did you just commend yourself?
Yeah, I did.
Good trumpet. Thanks, Stetson. You're welcome, Stetson.
I'll include more of those.
And so... the whole heart behind influencer is what voices are influencing you.
Yep.
There's so much out there today trying to influence you.
Yep.
In fact, in some ways, we are trying to have a sort of influence on
For
you.
sure.
Just talking to you right now. But what I was referring to more so aside from that is like, man, social media... Don't tune out. I know church talks about social media.
It's true.
A lot.
Yeah.
So try to hang in there with us. But, man, what are some ways that, like, social media influences us today? There's a lot.
Honestly, I don't participate that
A whole
much.
lot in social media.
Yeah, I feel old.
I know that a lot of you guys, if you don't already have a phone with internet connectivity, you either probably want one. Phones have come such a long way. And with those phones, there's always stuff trying to influence you.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
And like Landry said, it's like, yeah, we're trying to influence you towards good things, but most of the influencers out there are doing it for profit. Mm-hmm. Like they're trying to point you towards something that gets them money out of it. And so there's kind of ulterior motives behind that.
I'm sure a few might come to mind to some of you guys. Big name people whose whole entire job centers on talking about some cool stuff they heard about, selling you some new thing that either they love or that they've been sponsored to sell, or sometimes even that they've created.
Yep.
If they have a lot of money.
Yep. Yeah.
And
it's at the point where you don't know if they're doing it or not.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know if they like this. Like, if they really like it, are they really recommending it? Or are they just doing this because they want to get a buck out of the promotion? And then there's the influences that happen where it's kind of like secondary influences, where people behave a certain way and you start to want to behave the certain way. Like, language is changing all the time. People say certain things and you start saying certain things. It kind of like spreads. It's crazy, like, if you pay attention to this. But like one of the biggest effects that's happening on you guys is one of the reasons why a lot of people believe that you guys are experiencing some of the most anxiety out there is because you're exposed to so much news about so many terrible things going on. And even like news agencies, they've learned it's like they get more money and get more views if they talk about more scary things. And so you guys, you're exposed to all this like terrible stuff happening in the world, and that has an impact on you. It causes significant anxiety to like be exposed to all this stuff that you have absolutely no control over. So like beyond just like the whole profit things, like influencing you to buy something, it's like these things that we watch and that we listen to and the people that we follow, like they have an impact on the way that we think about everything.
Yep, especially the people we follow. I can't remember where the study is, so I'm not going to try and pretend, but it was something along the lines of people listen to people more than they listen to facts.
Yeah, for sure.
And so the thing we want to kind of unpack a little bit today is, one, what causes something to influence us?
Yeah, it's a good question.
And why should you care?
Sure.
So to start, I'd like to talk about a story from the Bible, because I believe that this story in the Bible can shed a little bit of light on it. And so where we're at in the Bible is a place called 1 Kings. And in this story in the Bible, there's a guy named Elijah. And Elijah is a prophet of God, right? The king at Elijah's time and the king's wife are people who, I don't know, Elijah has a lot to say about some of their ruling practices, specifically how the king's wife has swayed the king to worship false gods, right? According to Elijah, her name's Jezebel, and she's kind of like a bad influencer, right? She's in the king's ear. She's convinced him to do some not so great stuff. There have been prophets of God that have been killed because of her, and Elijah's not about it. Well, Elijah challenges her and challenges those prophets and does this insane miracle. Believe it or not, like miracles happen a lot in the Bible, but they're actually concentrated into a few areas, and this is one of them. So even for them back then, this is a really big deal. And so Elijah is like riding this high. He's starting to get rid of all the prophets of the false god Baal, and he's feeling really good about himself, right? Next thing comes up. And so I'm in 1 Kings 19 for Stephen for the slides. The very first verse. Now Ahab, the king, told Jezebel everything that Elijah had done and how he had killed all the prophets with the sword, the prophets of Baal. He had removed them all. So Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah saying, may the gods, her gods, Baal, the ones that she worships, deal with me and ever so severely, if by this time tomorrow I do not make your life like the lives of those you killed. It's a call out. I'm going to find you and I'm going to kill you, and if I don't, may my God punish me. Elijah is riding high on his previous win, right? I mean, how often does fire come down from the sky?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's pretty seldom, right?
Yeah.
And so surely he looks at this and goes, my God's bigger than that. I don't mind, right? Verse 3. And Elijah was afraid and ran for his life.
Nice. Good call.
Yeah, good call. Not making fun of Elijah. He had a very good reason.
I am. I'm making
I thought you... And so Elijah runs away. Now, there's no guarantees, because Elijah is human like you and I, so we don't know what's going to happen even when something amazing happens from God. That doesn't mean we know the whole future, right? And so he's rightfully scared. I'm not going to make fun of him, pretend like...
Yeah, like she threatened to kill him.
Yeah.
Like, that's a rational thing to be afraid of, is death.
But I would like to point out, but I'd like to point out how quickly things changed. And I think that says something about what actually influences us to do things like this. And I think that people who want to influence other people either know how to, or even sometimes specifically target your emotions.
For sure. Yeah.
Right? They scare you with scary stories that might threaten your life or threaten people around you or threaten your livelihood. The news can do this sometimes.
Yeah.
They make you excited by showing you a new thing that you should be a part of, or if it's an object, a new thing that you should buy, or if it's something like that, or maybe a concert you should go to. They make you excited. Like, they make you feel all these kinds of emotions to cause you to react. And why should you care about that? Because when you've been made emotional, you don't always react in the most sensible way. Mm-hmm. But the cool thing about this story is that God, the same God that we worship today, was caring for Elijah and was with him. And he loves you. And he loves us. And the influence that God had on Elijah was this small voice that is saying, okay, go back, and I'm going with you. What do you think, Stetson?
Yeah, we've talked about this before. It's like the brain gravitates towards negative as a survival instinct, which is normal, but it latches onto negative things. And a lot of sources of entertainment and news out there, they figured this out. It's like, oh, this is easy profit. We'll just share the scariest stuff, and then people will keep reading our stuff, and then we'll keep getting money. And so it's kind of this terrible cycle of fear and profit and fear and profit and fear and profit. And just like Landry was saying, it's like, man, it was so easy for Elijah to just default to fear because that's where our brain goes. And it takes 15 seconds to focus on a good thing before our brain is going to latch onto it. So we're talking about influencers because we don't want to live lives saturated with fear. Because that's a terrible life to live. Like, and we don't want to be manipulated either. I don't know about you, but I don't really feel that good about being manipulated. So if we spend our lives being manipulated and afraid, we're going to have a terrible existence.
Right.
God wants something else for us, which is why we're talking about it's like, let's talk about is like where these influences are coming from and the influences that it's having on us. And it's not just social media, it's the people in our lives too. It can be family, friends, their perspectives. They can influence us to go down paths where we end up ruining our lives because it's just, I don't know, it feels good in the moment, but in the end it leads somewhere that's terrible. And so we're talking about this because God has an alternative existence for you other than fear and manipulation. And we don't want that for you either. That's where my mind goes.
No, like super well said. And so the verse that comes to mind for me is Matthew 6:33. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. And this, I believe, is in the middle of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, where he's talking about all that God is. And to summarize, the goodness of God is an influence that you can trust, that is not going to manipulate you for worse, but is going to guide you towards good. And in the next couple of weeks, we're going to talk about, in some ways, how God is an influencer and the best influencer there is. And so we will see you guys in the next couple of weeks as we continue to unpack this. Is there anything else before we go?
No, it's good.
All right. See you guys next week.
Boo! Boo! I will do the boo.
Understanding is grapes, because I don't understand why people like grapes.
What?